Hey everybody, Jam Creates here, and it's another car cast, commuter cast, whatever I'm calling these things. I'm calling them commuter casts, because it's me driving home from work and talking to the camera while I drive. So that's where the name comes from. I know it's incredibly clever. So what are we going to talk about today? What shall we talk about? Today I'm going to talk about, I have a topic in mind. Today we're going to talk about comic books, and we're going to talk about the comic book model. And by that what I mean is the model of how comic books are sold and the way that they are, well, the way that they're sold, the way that they're made, the way that they're sold, and how this is all done in today's world. So let's just get to it. Personally, I think the days of the model of floppies every month is going to go away. I don't think it's going to last forever. I do think it's going to go away unless there is some drastic change that somehow brings in a ton of new readers who are willing to buy a book every month and read it that way. And I don't really know what would be the thing that would do that, short of just something that becomes like a cultural, touchstone that captures the zeitgeist of everything, and almost in the way that like Pokemon Go did for a summer. Like everybody you knew, everybody in the world was playing Pokemon Go for one summer, and it was literally just everywhere. And it was like the biggest thing on the planet for a few months. Now it's still going, and it's still incredibly profitable. But I don't know if there's anything in comic books that's going to catch people's attention like that and literally just get like millions upon millions of people buying comic books again. I just don't see it happening, at least not with the way things are now. I mean, I almost feel like it would literally take comic books ending and literally just not being made anymore, and then after they're not made anymore, like a break of a few years, and then suddenly here's a return. Hey everybody, comic books are back. We're making let's just use Marvel as an example. Let's say after this long break of like 5 or 10 years of just no comic books being published, all of a sudden they come back with, here is a new Spider-Man comic book, and we're starting over, and here it is. Maybe that would get a lot of attention. I think it would get a lot of people's attention, and I think it would get some news stories, and there would be that kind of thing. And, and if maybe they just said, like, we're going to do Spider-Man, one Spider-Man book, we're going to do one X-Men book, and, I don't know, pick something else, one Avengers book or something like that, and that's all we're doing. Maybe you could get people on board with that. But I don't know. I just don't see it happening. Well, first of all, I just don't see them doing that, number one. And number two, even that, I'm not sure would catch the imagination of people to that point. Like, it would definitely be a story, for sure. And people would be, like, talking about it and stuff. But then the question would come, if they had stopped printing comic books for 5 or 10 years, that means all the comic book shops would have gone out of business by then. And where would people be buying these books? That's the next question. Are they online only? Like, can you just buy them through the App Store or something? I don't know. Is it like, and would that be enough to support the writer and artist and whatever you would need to make the book? If there's literally no physical publishing, would that be the solution? I don't know. I don't think so, because, the comic book fans that we have now, that do exist right now, the ones that have been around for a long time, they enjoy physical comic books. They like having a comic book in their hand to read. I read some stuff digitally, I do, but I prefer to have a real comic book in my hand. If you gave me the option. Sometimes you just can't find a book, so you've got to get it digitally. It's the only way you can get your pardon the expression, but it's the only way you can get your hands on it. That actually happened to me this week. I'm hoping that will change, but I went to the comic book store yesterday to get issue number 2 of Psycho KO and issue number 2 of Eden, both from Alterna Comics, and the comic book store didn't have them. The shop just didn't have them, and the same thing happened when I tried to get Blood Realm number 1. The shop didn't have it, and I ended up getting it at New York City Comic Con from the creator, and that was just a pleasant coincidence. But, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to order them online or buy them on Comixology or something, because I want to read the stories. I want to see these books, but I really would much rather have the physical book, which means I'm going to end up going to Alterna's Etsy shop, I guess, and ordering the books, and then I get them whenever I get them, which is fine. I don't mind waiting. Like, that's okay, but, like, it's not ideal, let's be honest. Especially for a channel like mine that does do comic book reviews now and then. So anyway, that's just something there. What I do think will work, and this is the key, and it's part of the reason I think you're seeing the success you're seeing. I almost said the success you're succeeding with Comicsgate and their model of doing crowdfunded comics that are, they're more expensive than regular comic books, absolutely. Although some of them have a decent buy-in, like for just a physical copy of the book, or some of them even have a digital offering, and it's not that expensive. And so I feel like, that's there. I mean, it's still more expensive than just buying a comic book in the shop somewhere, and even those I think are too expensive. I think it's crazy to ask people to buy a $5, a $4 or $5 comic book every month to follow the story of one particular hero, and then you're expecting that they're going to buy more than one of those every month. A lot of people can't afford that. That's kind of crazy. Definitely kids. That's why there's no new kids coming into comic books, because they can't afford to buy them. I used to go to the store when I was a kid. Here's a little story for you. It's tangent time. When I was a kid, every year for Christmas, they used to have this thing in the Sears catalog. Yes, I said the Sears catalog. 2 things that at someday will no longer exist. I mean, the catalog already doesn't exist anymore, and the store probably won't exist for much longer, since they just filed for bankruptcy again. I think that's like the 3rd time. But in the Sears catalog, they used to have a thing, and it was a box of Marvel comics that you could get for, I don't remember how much it cost. I mean, it was a long time ago. I was a little kid. But for me, who was too little to go to the store by myself, my parents would have to take me to a store, and there weren't really a lot of comic book stores around me at the time where I lived. And when I did get to go, it was, few and far between. So we would order, I would get this thing, my parents would order it, and I would get it for Christmas. And it was like, I don't know, it was like 25 comic books in a box. And you didn't know what you were going to get. They were all just random comic books. And as a kid, I did not care that I was getting random issues in the middle of storylines. And sometimes you'd get lucky, and some of them would actually connect to one another, because you might get a story that crosses over different titles. And so it would be like, one issue of Amazing Spider-Man, one issue of Web of Spider-Man, and one issue of, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. And it would all be the same story. So you'd have 3 parts of that story. So you could actually kind of follow that story, which was cool. But I also would get random issues of X-Men or Fantastic Four or Power Pack or Alpha Flight or whatever. And I got exposed to all these different characters and just random bits of the overall plots that they were going through at the time. And I didn't care. I could not care less that I was completely lost. I would figure out from context clues, like, sort of what was happening, and just like looking at the really cool kick-ass art and the really cool characters, and that was good enough for me as a kid to get me hooked on comic books. And then as I started to get older, I actually subscribed to certain comic books, and I got them delivered to my house every month. And that eventually transitioned to me going, as I got even older, going to the comic book store every week to buy new issues of comic books, to the point where I was just buying tons and tons of comics every week. But the key was I had to be able to get hooked first. And kids now just don't really get that opportunity, which is why I love what Alterna is doing with their $1.50 books and trying to get them into stores everywhere. I think what DC is doing with those Walmart books is a really good idea. It's, it's more than $1.50, but, it might get kids hooked. It might get kids into reading comic books and getting to see these heroes and thinking, hey, these are cool. We're at Walmart, we're going shopping for school clothes or, back to school supplies or toys or whatever we're going for. And, if they made them more visible, which they really aren't, they need to be more visible. But if they made them more visible, kids are going to see them and be like, Mom, can I have this? Can I have this? And a lot of the time, the parents are going to say like, yeah, sure, what the heck? It's a couple of bucks. Let's pick it up and make the kid happy. So, that's the thing you need. You need to get kids into these heroes. And part of that is making stuff that is appropriate. But also, it doesn't have to be like kiddie books. I'm not talking about that, because I read comic books where Wolverine was like slashing people with his claws, and, Spider-Man was getting killed by Kraven the Hunter and all this other stuff. Like, I read lots of disturbing things in those books, but they were fine because I was a kid and I understood they were comic books and it was fine. Whatever. Punisher was killing people and stuff. It was fine. I was able to deal with it. It was no big deal. But that's where I think Comicsgate is definitely got one thing right, and they are not asking you to make these purchases over and over again. Yes, they are more expensive. However, when you buy like the more expensive versions of these books, you're also getting more stuff. If you buy the $50, most of them are $25, $50, and up. If you're buying the $25, you're getting the book usually, and that's usually you get the book. Maybe you get one little thing extra with it, but that's pretty much just what you're going to get. But honestly, you're getting, most of these books are 48 pages or more in some cases, and you're getting what you pay for. You're getting a quality book that is something that you can read more than once. It's something that you can read, and then you might want to reread it and share it with other people. It's very akin to if you were to get, like, say, a Harry Potter book. You would read that book and you would enjoy it, and you would never say like, oh, I can't believe I spent, $20 on the hardcover version of the book. I should have waited a year for the paperback one to come out and spent, 14 or 11 or whatever the heck it's going to be. No, you're just going to be like, hey, I liked that book, or I didn't like that book. But either way, you're not going to really complain about the price you paid for it. You're not worried about the value to the dollar. But with the Indiegogo stuff, if you buy, let's say, the $50 one, a lot of times you're getting something else. You're getting, for example, using Cyberfrog as an example, you're going to get the main book, you're going to get Blood Honey. You're also going to get the Ash Can, which I think at this point is like 20 pages. So you're basically getting 2 books. And now the Ash Can is going to be fully colored and everything else because he made he hit all his stretch goals. But you're also getting some other stuff. There's like a window cling and I think a bookmark and trading cards, or I forget now, like all the stuff that's going to be in it. It's going to be a nice surprise when I do get it and open it up and remember all the stuff I'm getting. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be like, oh, I forgot I was getting this and this. And the books are signed, which is a whole nother thing. You can take a book and go to a convention and get it signed, but it's going to cost you. Here you're just getting it. It's just part of the deal. You buy these books from Indiegogo, they're signed. Like, that's what these people do. Like, that's how this thing works. And the thing is, like, if you look at, like, Jawbreakers or Cyberfrog, like, this book is going to come out, and then maybe a year from now, another one will come out. We know for a fact, I don't know about Jawbreakers, but we know for a fact that Ethan has said that Cyberfrog is 4 books. So you're going to get the one, and then you're going to get the next one, and you're going to get the next one, and each one of those is going to be akin to like reading a book series where you want to read the next one to see what happens to these characters. It's going to be like a movie series. You want to go see the sequels. You're not going to just like, you're not going to, unless you hate it, you're not going to see the first one and then not keep going. So, but the nice thing is you don't have to keep going month after month after month after month after month, and some issues are good, some issues are terrible, whatever. Like, these guys, if they're putting out a book a year for these stories, they're going to make sure those books are good. You know, you're talking about pros who are delivering, and I'm sure that you're going to see, like, for example, Graveyard Shift. I'm pretty certain that Graveyard Shift is going to be one that's going to explode. I'm fairly certain, because it's such a marketable concept, that at some point you're probably going to see a Graveyard Shift. You're going to see a headline somewhere that says, you know, movie rights to Graveyard Shift picked up by somebody. I just think you're going to see that. And this is the thing, like, you're going to get the book, and I'm pretty sure he's going to make another one after this, because it's been very successful. You know, hit 6 figures, young lady, so it's definitely going to, I would assume, spawn a sequel. And then maybe even another one after that, who knows? And that's the thing. You're going to be excited. You're going to be like, awesome, a new one. Like, when anything, familiarity breeds contempt, and that is the truth. When you've got a book that's coming out every month, and it comes out every month for 50 years, you know, it kind of gets old hat. You get used to it always being there, and if it were to go away, yeah, you'd be sad. But, you know, it's the same thing. They've been writing this book forever. They end up ruining the character because they just don't know what else to do with him. And so they wind up ruining the character. And then they just alienate the fans. And then and nowadays, they alienate the fans and they don't even say, like, do you remember, here's a funny thing. Remember the clone controversy with Spider-Man, when it was a big deal and everybody hated the storyline, and so they wound up just cutting it short, and they wrapped it up and were like, okay, yeah, not doing that again. Yeah, although I'm pretty sure they never actually apologized for how bad the story was. They did try to make amends, and nowadays that would never happen. Nowadays they would just tell you you're a horrible person for not liking the story that they wrote. And that's just, unfortunately, the way the business is now, which is also a whole nother problem why comic books are failing. It's because the creators stink. They are not being hired because they're good. They're not being rewarded. Success should be rewarded, absolutely. So if someone's out there making a book and they are a loser online and they're terrible online and they're treating people horribly, that stinks. But if they're super successful, you can look at it and go, well, listen, the guy's a jerk, but he's a jerk who's making Marvel money hand over fist. It's the same thing, you know, it could definitely go with a sports analogy. You know, a lot of athletes are not good people. A lot of them are, but a lot of them are really shitty human beings. And the reason that they continue to be able to play and make millions upon millions of dollars playing a sport, and they keep getting signed, even if they get cut from teams because of behavior or whatever it might be, they wind up getting re-signed somewhere else. Why do they keep getting re-signed somewhere else? Because they have talent and they can help you win games. So that's why it happens. And it's the same thing with business. If you make money, people are going to keep hiring you, even if you're a pain in the neck to work with. I mean, look at some successful celebrities, some successful actors. They're known to be royal pains in the butt to work with. But if they're bankable, if they make money, then guess what? People are going to keep working with them. This jerk driving in the shoulder for a half a mile. And that's just the way business works. You know, the old saying, money talks and bullshit walks. Well, that was the case, but is not the case anymore at Marvel, at least. And seemingly seems to be happening with DC as well. Rather than hiring writers and artists who are known successes, you know, they're known to make money, they have loyal followings already, they instead are hiring these terrible, terrible artists and horrible writers. And, you know, I got no problems with giving new people a chance. Absolutely. Like, the business has to do that. If they didn't do that, we would never have gotten the new talents that we got throughout the years. But at some point, like, they've got to sink or swim, and that's just the bottom line. They've got to succeed or not succeed. And that doesn't mean that they can't, the world loves a good comeback story. So if you go out there and you make a terrible book your first time, or you slip and you're not meeting your deadlines and they have to cut you loose, but then you come back maybe a couple of years later and you are hitting your deadlines and your art's better than ever and everything's working and you're firing on all cylinders, and it was just you needed time to grow into that or whatever, like, hey, awesome, that's good, people like that. But I just think as far as like the model goes, the model has to change. I think if you're gonna do monthlies, they need to be cheap. And if you want to repackage them later in like high quality trades, you can get away with that for a while. I think you definitely could do that, and that's kind of what Alterna is doing. And I think Marvel could succeed at doing that because they've got bankable heroes, that have fan followings. And if those books were, even if they were $2 a month and printed, on newsprint, so it was, you were able to make money selling those books at $2 a pop, and then you're collecting them into trades and putting them on glossy paper and selling them at a premium, I think that would definitely sustain Marvel for a while and would be profitable for them for a while. But even that, I don't know if it will last. Not with the adversarial relationship they have with their fans, and just with the amount of people that they have turned away from them right now. It's really not good. It's not a good look. And ultimately it's not going to be successful. Comicsgate, with their model of like, hey, here's essentially a movie. We'll put one out a year or every other year or whatever it ends up being. Like that, I think is a doable model, and I think that's a workable model. And, you can even do something like, you look at what DNC is doing with Jawbreakers. Jawbreakers book 1 is going to be like this giant size thing because he's got, I should say Lost Souls, because it's got Lost Souls, it's got book 1 remastered, and it's got book 2 all together. Like, so book 1 and book 2 are like these, like, almost like, hey, these are gonna like hold you over until, and Jawbreakers Lost Souls is like the big movie. So it's like, here's like the little, like the TV show, and here's the movie that's gonna like blow you out of your water, blow you out of the water. And like, he's definitely got something going there, and I think that could be something people might be able to do. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, I'm home, I want to go eat dinner, so I'm gonna say goodbye. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I really am going to try and do some other types of videos soon. I should have a little more time coming up this weekend and in the next few days to do some other types of videos. So we'll be doing that, hopefully. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at jam_creates. I'm on Minds. I'm at Jam Creates on Minds. I'm on DeviantArt, Jam Creates. So just follow me everywhere, and just don't follow me like around in real life. That's just kind of creepy. I'm on BitChute. If you'd rather watch my videos there, go for it. And that's it. And again, I still need to work on my outros. So that's it. Get out of here. Bye.